Oh man, it's happening. I got 30 seconds. Hello everyone and welcome to Monday. It is time, once again, there we go, it's kind of okay, for Wwdc. That is the Worldwide Developers Conference. That's Apple's annual conference that focuses primarily on software. And I talk about it every year, so we're going to watch it and talk about it and see what's new. And if you don't watch the event, that's fine, because I'm going to recap it for you here and save you probably a lot of time. So we're opening up this WWDC with a look at one of the upcoming Apple Originals, which was, I think, the last conference that they had. Basically where Apple said, hey, we're going to compete with Netflix and Hulu because we can, and we want to make our own TV shows. So that's what we're opening with. It's just a reminder that they're doing this. Because honestly, I'm not thinking about that today. I'm thinking about iOS and a possible Mac Pro reveal. But yes, they make TV shows now. Similar to past years, they're breaking this up into the various operating systems: TV, Watch, iOS, macOS, and we're starting with TV. So that's really cool. Apple is extending support for Apple TV controllers to the Xbox One and PS4, which is arguably the best choice you could have anyway. So now if you're playing a game on your Apple TV, you can just use one of those controllers, and they're Bluetooth, so I guess they just automatically sync to the Apple TV, which is pretty cool. Admittedly, I don't know a whole lot about watchOS or the Apple Watch in general because I don't have one. But the crowd audibly cheered when they announced that Calculator would be on the watch, so apparently that has been missing. Wasn't really anything else in watchOS worth talking about, in my opinion, so now Craig is here to talk about iOS, which is called 13. It was a joke that he made about 12 plus 1 would be 13. Never mind. Whatever this amazing feature is that Craig wants to introduce apparently requires its own video. I'm assuming it's dark mode, because the long-rumored thing has been dark mode, so it's probably dark mode. Update, it's dark mode. Not that I expected anything less from Apple, but they are literally talking about dark mode as if it is the second coming of Christ. Craig actually used the words refined texture of black. He said it had a very refined texture. I don't know what that means, but I am glad that we're getting a dark mode, no matter what stupid way they choose to tell us about it. Apple is getting very serious about making maps not suck, because it's been around for like a decade and it has sucked pretty terribly. But they have the money to make it good, and they're starting to invest it into that. So hopefully within the next year, maps will be good. Apple added a new feature to Maps that is essentially Google Street View. It's basically what it is. The only big difference that I can tell is that Google Street View is like a flat image, and these actually have depth. So whenever you go into Street View on Apple Maps and you look around, things are actually three-dimensional, which is really cool, but it is still essentially Street View, something that we've had for some time. For whatever reason, every conference, Craig has at least one segment that is devoted to children, and this time it was a Memoji update, where he said that there were some new features for the Memojis and that he had some experts coming in to explain them. Those experts turned out to be YouTube celebrities that I've never heard of, and they talked in Memoji format about the ways that you could change your lipstick color. Siri now sounds better. They were explaining how before they used like tiny voice clips from like actual recordings, like human sounds, and now it's done with a neural text-to-speech thing. So basically, Siri can say longer, more complex things without sounding like a weird robot. She's still a weird robot. She'll just sound a little less like one. There was a rumor that they were going to change the name of iOS running on iPad to iPadOS, and they have. And I guess it makes sense because, like, iOS for iPhone and iOS for iPad have become fairly different things. They're still very similar, but, like, iPad is capable of doing so much more. So now they're just calling it something else. So they have tvOS, watchOS, iOS, macOS, and now iPadOS. Oh snap! Oh snap! We finished up with iPad. We're on to Mac. He showed the lineup and he said, there's a spot missing for those really looking to push the power. So finally, we're going to get some information about the new Mac Pro. There it is, the new Mac Pro. It exists. It looks somewhat similar to the old Mac Pro, to be honest. You can tell that they were done with the trash can design. We also knew that Apple was going to be working on a display, but we didn't know exactly what it was going to be, but they unveiled that as well. Again, if you're truly interested in that sort of thing, you should watch the event. But they have touted it as the world's best Pro display ever. And given all of the features that they're packing into this thing, it's pretty reasonable. Oh, hey, a price on the Mac Pro. It starts at $6,000. So it's going to cost a lot of money. It's long been rumored that iTunes was going to be split up into multiple apps, and they are doing it. One of the reasons is because iTunes has become very bloated, and there was actually a legitimately funny joke that Craig told, where they said they would continue to build onto iTunes by putting Calendar and Mail and Safari into iTunes. It made me chuckle. It's also been long rumored that you'd be able to use your iPad as a second display for your Mac, and it's finally here. They're calling it Sidecar, and it looks great. I mean, there's been some third-party apps that do this sort of thing, but now it's just going to be built right into the OS. They're doing some really cool things with ARKit, where like you can see stuff in augmented reality, but now you can walk in front and behind it, and like it knows to not include you in the object. It's easier to see than explain. But apparently this has something to do with Minecraft. This is really neat. Like, they have Minecraft running in AR, and they were doing it on a little table, and it was like, look, it's Minecraft on a table. And then they turn it, and they do it, like, life-size on the stage, and then because of the occlusion where you can walk in front and behind AR stuff, they're actually in Minecraft. And it's just really cool. It would probably be less cool to play and more cool to like see someone play, but this is the type of thing that you would normally need like, I don't know, like VR and like a big green screen to accomplish, and you don't need that now. And it works pretty freaking well, so it's cool. It makes me think that, you know, there's an entire new generation of, you know, kids that are interested in Minecraft that, you know, want to make Minecraft videos or whatever, and they can do things on this scale now, and it's very easy, and it's just really neat. So that's it. That's the end. At the very end of the speech there, they talked really specifically to the developers. They talked about Swift and the introduction of Swift UI. That's not my forte, but every conference we actually have a chat open where I'm talking with a few of my friends, one of which is Chaz, who is a developer and who has to work within Swift and developing iOS apps all the time. And he said, sorry, I'm salivating. So it must be good. That part must have been good. So when the conference started, I actually opened up TextEdit and decided I would make a bulleted list of all of the really cool things that came out of this WWDC. And I came up with two. tvOS getting support for Xbox and PS4 controllers, and Sidecar. Sidecar is legitimately cool. It's yes, on the one hand, you can use your iPad as a second display, which is neat, but I think the more interesting function is being able to use your iPad as a tablet for your Mac. That is really cool. That's something I'm sure Mao is going to get some use out of, because she'll be able to do doodles or sketches or whatever on her iPad, which she would do anyway, but she can just do it in Photoshop on her desktop, which is really, really neat. So Sidecar is very, very cool. Unfortunately, I only came up with those two things because, in my opinion, WWDC was kind of underwhelming. Otherwise, there's not a whole lot of really cool stuff. I mean, dark mode is interesting. I'm glad we're finally getting a dark mode, but that wasn't really anything that was like, oh, wow, that's just good. Why wasn't it here before? Otherwise, the thing that I was most interested about for this conference was by far the specs of the Mac Pro, and they delivered. I was worried that maybe they would just say, hey, soon we'll talk about it, but they actually went full into it, which is good because I think that's what people really wanted. And we are more than ever being told that this is strictly for professionals. Strictly. There was a time when Mac Pros, I mean, they were expensive, but they were still somewhat accessible to the general public. And now with a starting price of $6,000, you know, for just the computer itself, like, you know, it's not for a hobbyist anymore. This is strictly for a professional. And some people are going to be like, you know, that's so expensive, and you're completely correct. But also, it's not for you. This is simply a product for professionals who are getting a return on investment from using an Apple exclusive app. If you are someone who makes their living through Logic or Final Cut or Xcode, then this product may actually be of interest to you. Is it expensive? Yeah, it is. But that's who this product is marketed towards. If you want to own a Mac, you can, and you don't need a Mac Pro. If you just want to have the Mac experience, you should really look at getting a Mac Mini or a MacBook. People love their laptops, and I do. I use a MacBook Pro on my day-to-day, and it's great. But yeah, if you're allowed to be mad about the price and the specs in a Mac Pro, but like, that's something to remember, is that it's not for you. It is for people that are making money using that product, who feel that they can adequately pay for that product doing work on that product. Something to keep in mind. Otherwise, you know, that was it. I was interested to see the conference because I watch it every year, and I wanted to hear about the Mac Pro, and I got both of these things, and what I'm left with is, man, the Mac Pro is expensive, even for someone who was at least considering it, because I'm starting to run into some problems with my MacBook, hurdles that I can see are going to be a problem in the near future. I'm not sure how soon, but soon. For example, whenever we went to Japan and we shot all that footage, I can't natively play back Jeff's footage. H.265 won't actually play back on this computer smoothly, so I have to transcode it to ProRes, which is fine, but it's crazy. For one, it takes time, and it also blows up the file sizes by like 5 or 6 times. So like, would it be nice to have access to a computer that could just deal with that? Yes, but do I need it right now? No. But at some point in the future, we will change vlog cameras again. We will be shooting stuff with higher-end cameras. And when we do, I am going to actually run into the bottlenecks of this system. Fortunately, it's not yet, so I don't have to worry about it. But that day is coming. Whether or not that warrants the purchase of a Mac Pro, I don't know. I'll probably look at their iMac Pros and see what those are like, or even maybe just the normal iMacs, or I'll just wait a while, because right now this computer is still working and I haven't run into those bottlenecks yet. I can see them, but I haven't run into them. Anyway, that's it. Talk about WWDC below. I'm behind on vlogs, so I know you guys are getting this late. That being said, this was a fairly underwhelming WWDC anyway, so I don't think it's a big deal if it comes out late. Sorry you're getting this sometime down the road, but you know, if you have strong opinions about anything you saw, especially the Mac Pro, talk about it down below. There's also going to be a sizable portion of people, because there always is, they're just like, Apple is crazy. Okay. I mean, that's fine. That's fine. You are allowed to say that. Just keep in mind that, you know, when you're looking at a product like the Mac Pro, it's for people at Pixar. That's what that product is for. The thing that does piss me off, though, they gave a price on their display. The display is $5,000, which is actually not that unreasonable. I know it sounds crazy, but it's not that unreasonable, because displays that are color accurate, that have all those features, are actually tens of thousands of dollars. So it's really not that unreasonable. The thing that is unreasonable is that to get it in matte is an extra $1,000, which is wild, and the stand is $1,000, and it is not included in the price of the display. That just kind of pissed me off. I would have rather them have charged more for the display and then just had the display. instead of having it as a separate thing. But there was an audible noise in the crowd when they said, because they were like, the display is $499.99, $499.99, and the mat is $59.99, and the stand is $9.99, and they like kind of glossed over that, and the crowd was like, wait, hold on, the stand also costs money? That was the part that was like, Again, is it actually worth it? I mean, it's probably still worth it in terms of the display. I'm not a display expert, but I know how expensive like actual faux real displays can be. So it's probably still a fairly good deal and very comparable, but still there's something just upsetting about paying $1,000 for a monitor stand. Okay, I'm done talking about this. I got it off my chest. I'm not going to think about this stuff for a long time, and I'll let you guys talk about it instead. As always, let's meet back tomorrow, shall we?